What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Code Peterson tutorial. We are working on our GB Studio boss level for our shoot 'em up game for the original Game Boy. I'm going to add another scene, and in this scene, I want it to be my level boss. This one is not a long level like our regular with the shoot 'em up level up here. This one's just going to have the boss level taking place in the size of just one Game Boy screen. There's no panning or scrolling or anything with that. In this one, we're going to fly around and then we're going to have our boss in here flying around with us also. For the player sprite sheet, I want to choose my turkey, and if I just click somewhere out here in kind of no man's land, where it says starting scene, I'm going to select scene 2. So that way when I test this, I just go back in here and test this out. And I want to, in this level on init, and I'm going to add an event and attach script to button. And B is fine. And on press, just like before, we're going to go launch projectile. And the projectile that I want to launch is going to be the football again, and default animation state 2. For the speed is fine. Animation speed last time we used 6, and for the lifetime of that sprite was a 2. Now we made our footballs in the last level be a collision group of 3, and it collides with a collision group of 1, which is going to be our enemy, so that can stay consistent with this. Okay, now if I test this out, I just want to make sure my character is moving. I want this character to always be facing right, even when I'm moving it left. And when I'm firing these weapons, even when I'm moving backwards, they're all facing the same direction. Now, if your enemy, or if you're not your enemy, if your hero is flipping the other direction, what might be happening here is if we go up here to sprites and I find my turkey, I have mine set up for fixed direction plus movement. So it's the direction is fixed, it's always facing that way, but I can still move it in different directions in there. The other thing that you'll notice is when I fire this, it's creating the football like halfway through, the turkey. We might not want that, depending on your image sprite of how that works. So what I could do is I could go down here to source, and I could go offset Y. Let me see what happens if I offset X um, as 8. Let's try 11. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Now, on this level up here, and I go to my projectile, I can do the same thing there. I didn't show us that last time, but I just kind of got to thinking about it. And there we go. All right, so we have a character that can shoot footballs out and can get that firing off at our enemies. Now we need an enemy to throw the footballs at on this level. Go over here to our addition up here, and we'll add an actor. Put it right here, and this actor is going to be our Santa. Santa is going to be a collision group of 1, because that's what the football collides with. And if we go here to on hit and we select group 3, because that's the collision group of our football. We can add an event, and we are going to variable increment by 1. And we'll click this drop down menu and we'll go to our global variables and we'll choose our next available one, which is variable 1. And we'll rename this one enemy hit. So each time Santa's hit, it's going to get an increment of 1. Then if I go to add an event and compare a variable with value, I find enemy hit. I go here to this little double equal sign, and if I find where it says comparison and go greater than or equal to 3, then we will change scene. Now maybe that's going to be to your next level, maybe it's going to be to your game over scene. Mine, I'm just having it go back to the very beginning just so we can see how that works. All right, so here we go. We fire 1, 2, 3. We defeat Santa, and then we are accidentally click scene 2. I meant to go scene 1. It'll take us back to scene 1. Okay, now for scene 2 here, another thing I probably want to do when I have that selected, if I go to on init, add event, I want to set variable to value. So that variable set to value, and we will find that enemy hit. We will set that equal to 0. I'll just bring that up to the very top. So that way, if we have Santa hit 2 times, we don't have to worry about once our life ends and we go back to this level that, we'll have to re-hit Santa 3 times. We'll just have to get him 1 time and then off of that. So each time this level here restarts, that variable itself also restarts. Okay, now what we can do is add a little bit more challenge to this. I mean, obviously, we don't want Santa staying there in one place. So we can go over here to on update. We'll say the first thing we're going to do is wait 2 seconds. And we're going to add an event. We're going to actor move to. All right, now when I hover over this, you'll notice on scene 2 on the screen, I can actually change as I click this to show me where that's going to be to. I can have my character go there. And what's going to happen after that is duplicate or copy this event and then paste event after. Maybe here I'm going to Y down here. Can paste event after again. Maybe this one will move up to the top. Paste event after another time. And this one maybe we'll have moved back right here. Actually, we'll just then have it go back to the start where he was at. All right, let's save that and see how this looks. So Santa's pausing there, moves down, up, back to there. So that gives us a little bit of a um, moving target there to hit. And you can make that as complicated as you want. As you can see here, it just um, loops through that once it's done. All right, so then what I am going to do is after each one of these, so maybe for the one where it waits 2 seconds, I will have before Santa moves, I'm going to add an event before. Insert before. And I'm going to find launch projectile. All right, now this projectile, just like up here, we had these footballs that were um, they were a kind of a power up for us, and they were a collision group of 2. That, and I'm going to select the football, and this one here, go to source, and we want the direction to be going to the left. All right, and this is going to collide with the player. See what that does for us. Okay, so that's going the reverse way, so we'll go in here to source, and we will change direction of this projectile. Like this. Perfect. At B6. And maybe to make that a little more challenging, we could go a bit faster of a speed on there. Okay, so this projectile here is going to be collision group 2, and it collides with the player. Now, after these other areas of going on here, I might copy this event, and then before these other stops that this character makes go on, I could go paste event before, and then this one is going to be candy cane, and candy cane have be just a little bit slower. Have the lifetime be 2, and up here I should probably make 2 just though it is going faster. That's all right. And then this one is going to collide with the player, but I might give this one a collision group of 1. All right, and then here and copy this one, and then paste this before this event. It's this one or this event also. All right, so let's see what that looks like. Our character here. All right, obviously this is still a little bit easy, but you get the idea where we have this character moving around and throwing these different things coming out of there. All right, so one of the issues is we want those candy canes to be an issue with our, like we don't want to get hit by a candy cane. So if we select our character here and we have on hit, and we're on hit with anything from group 1, then we are going to change scene, going to change scene back to scene 2. It's the football. Now I want to let this thing hit me. I want to see if, so we still have to, all right, so that did work right there. Perfect. Now when it took me back to scene 1, you'll notice here we have our turkey not being on there. So what we can say here is this Santa is being hit by a collision group of 3, and we go back to scene 1. I just need to choose the direction of where my character is facing. And then I also want this to probably match where the character was on here. So if we look up here, click scene 1 up here, and we will choose our character, and it is at 1-8. Back here, find where this character will start when we start the level. That also to be facing right. Okay, now let's start this on scene 2. Make sure elements work. Okay, so then it takes us back to the beginning and everything is from there. Okay, so here's that. If we run this again, and one of these candy canes was right here, so that takes us back to the beginning. That takes us back to the beginning. But obviously it's spawning us up at the top again. So what we want to do here, player on hit with 1, scene 2. We'll set that to 1-8 on there also. That way when we run into our enemy, it takes us back to the beginning. All right, now the last thing for this part of the level, I think, we're obviously having Santa throw these footballs, and I didn't have anything happen with that at first. So I think I am going to select our player, and when we are hit with an item from group 2, then I am going to add an event, variable increment by 1. I want to find my footballs variable that I used before. You could use a different one for this if you want. So each time that football hits us, then it gives us a increment of 1. Then when we go back to our character here, and we have launch projectile, on press, launch the projectile, and I'm going to add an event and variable decrement by 1, and that is going to be my footballs variable. All right, so there we have every time we get a football, we add to that variable. And then when we shoot a ball, or yeah, when we throw a ball, then we lose one of those values from that. And then the last thing that I would say here would be on this button override, we add an event here, go um, compare variable with value. We'll say if footballs is greater than 0, and then we can bring this launch projectile, bring this in here on press. There we go. So on press, if footballs are greater than 0, I will click and drag this launch projectile, add into the true, and then my decrement footballs by 1, I will click and bring that to there also. Okay, so now we'll run this, see how it looks. Right now it's not letting me fire. All right, so now we have a way where we can't just throw footballs at Santa. We got to wait for Santa to throw a football at us, and then we have to keep an eye out if it's throwing a candy cane or if he's throwing a football at us. The other thing we can do up here is with this level, I probably need to have something where when we get to the end, we can go to scene 2. Go and add a trigger. And then on enter the trigger, we will change scene, go to scene 2. All right. I will change starting scene back to scene 1. And let's see how this works out for us. We got to the end. Ball. Second one. So again, obviously this is set up kind of easy for testing purposes. There we have that, and then we're back to the beginning. Now, if you noticed when I got to the end of this and it took me back to the beginning where we were down there, I need to switch that to, what was it, to 1.8. Let's try that out and see where we are with this. Scene 2, that is 1. All right, and that'll allow us to have everything fixed on there. So there it is. We've kind of the basics of this. We've made a shoot 'em up where we have our parallax scrolling with some enemies, some power ups. Once we're at the end of the level, then it takes us to the boss level without the scrolling and some more programmable step by step type of movement. And then having the boss throw a couple of different types of projectiles at us. And the cool thing about this is really any of the other tutorials that I've made and put on YouTube, you can use any of those. Like if you want to incorporate extra lives, or if you want to incorporate some background music or sounds or any of those, they're fairly easily able to be applied to this, or using the text dialogues or having some cutscenes and things of that nature. So be curious to know what you think. If you like this tutorial, do you want me to continue building on this one? Do you want us to start something else? Do you have questions over this? Leave them in the comments. As always, like and subscribe if you like this content and you want more of it, especially with GB Studio. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we'll hopefully catch you on another tutorial soon.